All right. Thank you for joining us at Ghost Tales for this week's episode, where we share spooky tales of the supernatural. I'm your host, Ashley Knight. With me today, we've got some special guests from the Wells Theater. We have Tom Quaintance and Jeni Schaefer with us today. And Jeni, you are Director of Design. That's so much fun. And Tom Quaintance, you are
I'm the Producing Artistic Director. How long have you been with Wells Theater? So I've been at Virginia Stage Company for 9 years.
9 years? Okay. Mm-hmm. And Jeni, how long have you been with them?
Next month I celebrate 24 years.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So you bring a wealth of knowledge with you today.
Yeah, and Jeni has the most knowledge of anyone. The Wells, the ghosts at the Wells. We're very excited to have her with us.
High praise. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about the history of the Wells Theater. I understand it was built in 1913.
1913, yes. So the Wells brothers had theaters up and down the coast, but Norfolk was their home, so it's the kind of jewel of their empire. And it opened in 1913 and was a fantastic old-timey theater that had big, lavish productions and a great history. It went from opening in 1913, it became a vaudeville house. Mm-hmm. And then over the years, it fell into a little bit of disrepair and disrepute. Mm-hmm. By the time we got to the 70s, it was an X-rated movie house.
Okay. Because there weren't enough of those.
Right. And then a group of folks came together and said, let's make downtown Norfolk a little more inviting. And they founded Virginia Stage Company and renovated the Wells to be a regional theater.
Awesome. And I think we have a picture of the playbill from those early days. Yeah. Let's take a quick look at that. So what are we looking at here?
So the Merry Countess was the first show. And this is the picture from outside. So this is from what is now Tazewell. Tazewell Street. And the theater is, when the theater opened, what is now the lobby, the theater went all the way back. So it was seats all the way to the back of the house. Wow. So one of the things that has changed is how the theater is organized. Mm-hmm. Also along Tazewell, those used to be old storefronts, and now it's all part of the Wells.
Okay. Gotcha. And this is another
This is the angle. This is from Monticello. So the awnings there were other stores, but big building behind it, that's the main part of the theater, as is the rest of it. Underneath there would be the audience.
Now, and where do you enter? Where's the entrance?
So the entrance is past the awning. Mm-hmm. There is where you go into a beautiful rotunda.
Okay.
And the rotunda is one of my favorite parts of the theater. It has fantastic stained glass.
And I think we have a picture of that too.
Yeah. You walk in and you just go,
it is gorgeous.
This is someplace that's special.
Yes. You walk in and you're immediately met with this sense of awe.
Yeah.
When you walk in, and you feel the history almost immediately.
Yeah. And then you go into the theater, and it's this beautiful Beaux Arts example of Beaux Arts theater architecture.
It's beautiful. And Jeni, you've been with them for how many years?
24.
24 years. What's been your favorite experience with the theater?
Oh, gosh. Well, the very first day I ever stepped into the theater, I was 8 months pregnant with my first child. And the production manager at the time took me into the theater just to show me around. And when I walked in and saw the rotunda and then right into the theater, I looked up and I said, I have to be here for the rest of my life. And there wasn't a place for me at the time, but within 6 months he called me up and said, now there is. Oh, and I've been there ever since.
I think a lot of people walk in and have that same feeling. Yeah. I need to spend the rest of my life here.
They just, the voices beautiful. Just speak to you, and the energy in the space makes you want to stay there.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of voices, do you want to talk about a little bit of the spooky experiences some people have
Sure.
had? Do you want to talk in general, and then we'll talk about
let me just
more
talk about
specific ghosts?
So my first experience with the theater ghost was way before I was here, right? So when I was a kid, I was working at the Guthrie Theater in Minneapolis, and I was on stage by myself, changing out a part of the set, and I felt like there was someone watching me. And I looked back and there was nobody there, and I was continued to work, and I looked back and I kind of thought I saw somebody but didn't. And then somebody else came in to the building and said, "How are you doing?" I was like, "I'm okay, but I just had this weird experience where I felt like someone was watching me up there." And they're like, "Stop it." I was like, "What?" I was like, "That's the Guthrie ghost." And I didn't know that there was, I'd never heard that before, that up in that seat, it was, the legend was there was a ghost there. And I think that there's so much living that goes on stages, out in the house. I mean, you've got people who come in and pour their hearts into the work. And that kind of feeling just sticks around. So you walk into a theater and you just can feel the life energy that's been there. So I think that there's a reason why theaters become a place where ghosts hang out.
Yeah. And you could make the argument that that may be where actors have felt most alive. And maybe that's why they keep coming back, because they want that feeling again of, if they've passed on, let's go back to where I felt most human. And
that they've created life there, right?
Yes.
The who they create, what they create, only exists in that theater, really on that night. But so it was not surprising to me that when I walked in and saw the Wells for the first time, that immediately was met with, "Oh, wait until you meet the ghosts."
I mean, I think it just speaks to what theater really is for everyone. It's about community. And so it makes it a safe space for our ghosts and our spirits and people who have been in and out of the company over all of the 47 years. They remain in those walls and speak to everyone who walks through.
Yeah, it's very interesting, this whole experience when you go to the theater, first of all, because you are experiencing something going on right in front of you that is just acted out, it's performed, it's putting on, entertainment, it's a whole new persona that people are putting on, and it just feels magical. And then the ghosts just add to that.
Absolutely.
It's just awesome. All right, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about a couple of the ghosts, in particular the man in black and the lady in white.
Yeah.
We've got color or the lack thereof coming up next, so stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Ghost Tales. We are joined by some folks from the Wells Theater, Tom and Jeni. We're just about to talk about a couple of the ghosts that y'all have experienced at the Wells Theater. This is so exciting. So we've got the man in black, the lady in white, and Boots that we're going to talk about for a little while. Yeah. Tell me about the man in black.
So the man in black, this is the ghost that I've experienced. The man in black reportedly was the architect for the theater, and the man in black is experienced in one of the audience boxes. So the interior Wells has old-timey box seats for the audience, and there is one box that the man in black haunts. And this is the one where on stage there have been times where it's like, and I've talked to a lot of different artists who have had we thought we saw something. And there's a curtain that covers those boxes, and so sometimes you'll see the curtain moving a little bit. So the man in black, who also it's a nice top hat. So the man in black is where he is partly because if he looks across the theater, at each box there is a face in each box, and they're all the same except one. One of the faces is different, and that face is reportedly of his daughter.
Oh, wow. Because he was the architect, he could make those choices.
And
this is where he would be standing?
So the box that's in the front of the picture there is where the man in black appears. And then the box that is all the way closest to the stage lower is where the face is that's different from all the other ones.
Okay.
So if you go to the close-up, you can see
the one on the right.
It's on the top. Yes.
Oh, on the top. Okay.
So the two that are on the side are identical, as are all the other faces. There's a dozen of them in the theater, and then that one top box is of his daughter, who died tragically when she
my
was
goodness.
a child.
Okay. So that's all we know about her.
That's all we know about
Is
her,
that
and she does not haunt the theater, but her father, the architect, does.
Gotcha. Okay, so he just kind of stands in the box back there on the one side.
being able
as
to
he-
both watch the shows and be able to see his daughter.
Yes. How not? Well, that's kind of sweet.
It is
That's
kind of sweet.
A sweet
It
ghost
can
story.
be sometimes kind of creepy
Yeah.
when you think there's a man in black up in the box watching,
Now, why is he called the Man in Black?
because he wears all black. So he's got the
He's
black
always
top hat.
seen in black.
Always seen in black. Yes.
Okay. And people have you seen him?
I've
Or-
only
Felt him.
I've had somebody, that feeling when someone is
Mm-hmm.
behind you and you get a little prickle on the back of your neck. Like I've had that and looked and not seen him, but I've had other people who have said that there was somebody up there, and then there's only one way to get up to the boxes. You can't. There's no exit
Mm-hmm.
from the boxes. So there are stories of house managers cleaning up for the night who then thought they saw somebody went up the stairs. There's no way to get out, and there's nobody there. So there's no way to get out unless you're, a ghost.
Right. Naturally. Okay. So talk a little bit about the Lady in White.
So Jeni, you know more about the Lady in White than I do.
I actually know the least about her. I have been trying to find some history on who everybody thinks this woman in white is, but the legend is that she lives in our mezzanine section, and so the scene shop tends to have more interaction with her than anyone else in the company because they work on the stage building the sets. And there are stories that she wanders the mezzanine and down our grand staircase singing and humming. So we're assuming that she was a former actress of the theater. So that's what we tell each other. I do have one story about her. A couple years ago, we were doing a tech rehearsal for our Christmas Carol. And our Scrooge at that time, he was in the middle of giving one of his monologues. And all of a sudden, his face went, and he fell to the ground and fell backwards. He was like, I saw her. She was standing up there, and he was like completely blown away that he actually.
This was during rehearsal.
During rehearsal. So
Wow.
we all took a moment and just, thought about her and acknowledged her in that moment.
She wanted to come and see the show.
Well, there's a little bit we'll tell you later why I think she appeared at that moment. So.
How neat. Okay. And then we've got, so that was the Lady in White. And she's, I'm assuming, called Lady in White because she's been seen in white.
Seen all.
Right, yes.
All in white. Okay. What kind of dress from what period is she?
She is seen in a late 1800s
Style
period
of dress.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Victorian.
And talk about Boots.
Oh, Boots
and this
is my
your,
favorite. Yeah.
your special ghost.
Boots is my special ghost. He lives up in my costume stock, which is at the very back of the theater, all the way up at the top. It used to be our second balcony up there. And the story is he was a young boy who was watching a production in that balcony, and either a fire or some alarm or something set off in the theater, and everybody was running out of the theater, and he was trampled to death.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so he lives up in my costume stock, and for years he's been very helpful to me. He's my little helper. I'll send staff up to find something and they can't find it, and I'll go up and he'll have put it out right in an obvious spot that nobody could miss it. There are stories that people hear his squeaky boots running around up there, which is why he is called Boots. Because
We have a lovely set of boots here.
he's always running around and his boots are very squeaky. So
Now, how old do we think he is?
I'm guessing he was probably about 11, 12. He's a very young, not quite an adult and not a little child.
Yeah. But wow, such a tragic story.
But he is so full of joy, and he loves to play practical jokes, and he's
what kind
just
of practical jokes?
just hiding things from people
When
and
you
then
go tell
revealing them.
somebody else to go find something, and he's like, no.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun.
Oh, neat. Okay, I love that. All right, so we're going to take another quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Ned and our final ghost, and also what all these ghosts have to do with their upcoming production of Christmas Carol coming up at the end of the year, or right at the end of the
Yes,
year, I'm
no,
assuming.
yeah,
Would be
right in
logical.
December. Yeah.
Yes. All right. So we'll be right back. Stay with us. All right, welcome back to Ghost Tales. Again, we are being joined by a couple folks from the Wells Theater, Tom and Jeni. We're talking about the ghost. We've already talked about the man in black. We've talked about the lady in white. We've talked about Boots. Boots. I'm already a fan of Boots. All right, so one last ghost that we know of, there could be more, but that we know of is Ned.
Ned.
Tell me about Ned.
So Ned was a sailor. Right. So, and it turned, there was actually quite a few sailors who worked at the Wells because the loft in the fly loft. So the fly loft is where, all of the scenery that flies in and out. And
it's kind of where it's all stored.
Yeah. There's as much room above the stage as there is
yes.
on the stage. So you can have large scenic pieces come in, or a sign, or whatever it is. And
they're all kind of shuffled up there. And
right. So there's 25 line sets. And when the Wells was built, and until just a few years ago, it was a hemp system, which was hemp ropes and sandbags. And so sailors were a natural fit for crew members for theater, because the fly system was very much designed and built after tall ships. So Ned,
you see all the knots and everything.
So
let's take a look at the ropes. We've got a picture of
So that fly system is up high. So that's probably 40 feet above the stage. There are two different balconies, and on both sides of the theater, there's these kind of ropes, and so Ned, who was always up in the fly system, Ned liked the ladies. And so the story is that Ned would get out, kind of back really out above the stage, so that he could then look down and particularly in some productions actually be able to look down the dresses of the leading ladies. And one performance, he was a little too interested, leaned a little too far, and fell and got hung up in the ropes. And that's how Ned passed, was actually above the stage at the Wells.
Wow. So to his own detriment.
To his own detriment.
He was,
yes. So let that be a lesson to you.
Yeah.
And so Ned is the trickster on stage, while Boots does a lot for Jeni and back up in the up in where the costumes are. Ned is the ghost that when things go wrong on stage, it's usually Ned.
He's to blame.
Yeah, and is somebody who, if things are particularly going awry, there might be a little moment of a "come on, Ned," that will then align something. But it's Ned is, I think, ultimately a kind of trickster ghost. It's the adult version of Boots, in the way that there's never been anything malicious.
Okay.
It's always been
What's an example of something?
So something in the fly system will not be working correctly, right? It will be bumping into the lights as it's coming down. It will be getting tangled in another rope. And it's like, Ned, can you help us out here? And then it'll just go really smoothly.
And then it'll work.
It'll all work.
Just give him a harsh
Sometimes
talking to.
You can hear his boots climbing the steps backstage as if he's going up there to help.
Yeah, so Ned is the one, I think, that most often, when you're closing up the theater, and there is this is really true at almost every theater, we put out a ghost light on stage.
That is traditional.
A single light that's on stage, and so all the other lights are out. You're bringing out the ghost light, and that's the one you're going to hear someplace. Okay, Ned. Good night. And leaving for the
We're leaving the light on for you.
Yeah, exactly.
How neat. I love that. All right, so talk about, we've got an upcoming production of Christmas Carol.
So this Christmas Carol, the script is Mark Shanahan, who is an artist who is both a director and a writer, and he wrote an adaptation of Christmas Carol just for the Wells, for us. in the play, there is mentions of the ghosts. They talk about the Christmas Carol, of course, is a great ghost story, and so
And this is a picture of.
so this is a picture from Christmas Carol. This is Jacob Marley, and Jacob Marley. So our Marley is.
Was this last year?
This is last year.
Okay.
But our Marley is inspired by Ned. So it's not just chains that are holding that Marley, but the ropes that are pinning him to the underworld.
Yes. I love that.
But so we feel like this is a production that honors the ghosts of the Wells. And I love what both the designers, Mark, and the director have done with our ghosts.
That is so neat. Now, are we incorporating all the ghosts or Ned primarily?
They are all mentioned in there. Yeah.
In fact, last year I added to the costume design. We have some ghostly chorus in the background. And so their main costume I personified. I gave our ghosts a costume this year. So each of those actors are one of our ghosts.
Oh, wonderful. I love that. Okay, now talk about the theater. If folks, do you offer tours or can people come in and
we have a great
Wells?
front of house staff and a great box office where people a lot of times will be walking down the street and like, I didn't even know this theater is here. and so we invite people to come on in, and we've got a friendly staff that will show them around. We occasionally do ghost tours at the Wells.
And when will those
Well, you can find out that information on our website at vastage.org.
vastage.org.
And then it is the best way to experience the Wells is to come and see a show. So upcoming season. So it's summer. We don't produce. We have summer camps and things, but back in the fall in September, we will be back with Ain't Misbehavin'. I'm directing an adaptation of Jane Austen's Emma, which Jeni is designing, and that's one where I feel like, when we do shows that have that period, I feel like the ghosts particularly
enjoy that.
Enjoy it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we want to have a ghostly experience, maybe Emma is the one to check out when that begins.
Yeah.
Okay. So when will the next one is Ain't Misbehavin'. When will that
September.
start? September.
And then
Emma will be in
Emma's October, November, and then both Merry Little Christmas Carol and a Sherlock Carol, both ghost stories, are run in rep in December.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And for folks who don't know what in rep means.
So there's two productions that share a cast and share a set. And these two shows, Sherlock Carol and Christmas Carol, Sherlock Carol is really a sequel in some ways, right? It's a few years after the events of Christmas Carol, and Sherlock Holmes is investigating the death of Ebenezer Scrooge. So you can see a Christmas Carol in the afternoon and a Sherlock Carol in the evening, and see actors play different parts, or in some cases play the same part over the course of two different plays. It's an exciting experience.
Gotcha. All right.
And the ghosts definitely come out for that.
For
Absolutely.
Christmas
Because
Carol.
we talk about them. Yes.
That's awesome. All right. So we've got Ain't Misbehavin' coming up. We've got Emma coming up, Christmas Carol. We've got so much going on at the Wells Theater. Awesome. And so people can go and find out more information at
vastage.org.
vastage.org.
Yeah.
Do y'all have a Facebook page?
We sure do. And we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have TikTok, we have all the things.
We have TikTok.
I know, right?
We're all learning things here today. All right. Is it Wells Theater or is it just VA
Virginia Stage Company.
Virginia
So
Stage Company.
if you look up Virginia Stage Company on any of those platforms, you will find us.
All right. All right. Virginia Stage Company and vastage.org.
vastage.org.
Okay, not .com.
Not .com.
.org.
.org.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Jeni, for joining us today and telling us all these fabulous stories about these wonderful ghosts. I haven't lived here so long that I've gotten around to all of them yet, but I will be visiting the Wells Theater very soon.
You're welcome.
And yes, so much fun. So you do get out and go see the Wells Theater for one of their productions, or just kind of poke around maybe a little bit.
Absolutely.
Go check it out. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for joining us for this episode of Ghost Tales. Be sure to join us next week when we'll scare up another spooky tale to share with you. Have a great one, everyone.